Ever since the UK added the healthcare assistant job to the UK shortage occupation list and opened its doors to attract healthcare workers from all over the world, this has attracted peer healthcare professionals from all over the world to seek and apply for this healthcare visa or healthcare work here in the UK. Now, the truth is, majority of the companies that are sponsoring healthcare workers, especially from overseas, are domiciliary care, or what we also know as the home care. Now, in this video, I'll be opening our eyes to the challenges that you might be facing coming to work as a healthcare worker here in the UK. My name is Jane Sampson. This is my channel, Jane's Hub. I'm a healthcare worker living and working here in the UK. On this channel, I share everything that has to do with relocation to the UK, living here in the UK, relocating abroad, and life abroad generally. If it's something that interests you, go ahead and subscribe, like this channel, and let's share all the juice in this channel. So in this video today, I'll be opening your eyes. I'll be sharing things that you need to know, the challenges, the struggles that you might face working as a healthcare worker, especially if you're coming from overseas into the UK. Now, big disclaimer, this video is not meant to scare you, it's not meant to discourage you, it is just meant to open your eyes to things that you should be aware of while you are preparing to come and work here in the UK. So today I'll be sharing challenges that you might possibly face working as a healthcare worker, especially as a domiciliary, or otherwise known as a healthcare worker here in the UK. Right, so the healthcare home care worker visa, or the home carers or domiciliary carers as we call them, these are the kind of carers that provide care to clients in their own home, all right, or to service users in their own homes. So you provide different kind of care ranging from personal care, dressing, feeding, assisting with medication, around their homes. In the course of doing this needs you to move from the home of one client to the home of another client. Of course, like every other job, this comes with its own challenges. These are the challenges I'll be sharing in this video, and I just want you to just take note and be very much aware of what you're coming into. So for the majority of domiciliary or home carers, this involves you driving from the home of one client to the home of another client. In some cases, these carers also use bicycle to cycle, while in some cases, some use bus, the bus transport system to go from the home of one client to another. But in majority of the cases, this would involve you driving from the home of one client or from your home to the different homes of your client. That is why most companies require that you have an international driving license, so that when you come into the country, you start driving as soon as possible. Now, one of the challenges you will face is the long hours of driving. Guys, if you don't love to drive, you're going to find this very, very challenging, because your job involves you driving from point A to point B. It will involve you driving most times you find yourself driving from 6 o'clock or 6 a.m. in the morning all throughout the day with just short break in between up to late at night. So driving for long hours is one of the challenges you're going to face in this job. So you have to be mentally ready. The next challenge you will find in this job is that this job is physically demanding. It's physically demanding because, of course, you need to drive, control the driving, control the steering from point A to point B. And we're not talking about short distances. Sometimes we're talking about driving long distances, navigating your way around. At the end of the day, it also involves you going to the home of your client, assisting your clients with their personal care, which might involve you rolling, moving, lifting of some sort, or using some sort of machine or some sort of equipment to assist your client in their mobility and in their movement. So it can be physically demanding for you to work as a home carer. Now, as a home carer, you will find yourself also working very long hours. Very long hours in the sense that because you're expected to provide personal care to your client, most times you're expected to go into their homes as early as 6 a.m., as early as 6:30 a.m. to go and get them up, get them ready for the day. So it involves you working very long hours. You have to do that in the morning depends on your company you're working with. You go from the home of different clients, and this find yourself, rolling over into the afternoon shift where you have to go and give them their lunch or their tea, or give them their medications. Sometimes, most times, of course, you're required to have breaks in between, but sometimes depends on the amount of clients you have to see in a particular day. These breaks are very, very short. Some are so short, some depends on your company, depends on your client, or depends on how many clients you're seeing per day. You find yourself having just short break in between, that sometimes you might not even have time to go back home to take a rest. You just take a little rest in your car, and then you continue the round. month. So just bear it at the back of your mind that this job requires you to work long hours. You're working for a long time, or you're going to see a great number of clients to see depending on your company, all right, or depending on the clients you have to see for a particular day. One other challenge that you might face is that you are expected to work across board, across the week. So you're expected to work weekends, Sundays, Saturdays, depends on the shift of your particular company. So your company expects you're expected to work across board, all right? So you might find yourself working early morning shift, late night, or even late at night, or even overnight. So if you're not used to working shift, or you're not used to working around, you need to get used to it, all right? You find yourself working even on holidays. You have to work because you have the duty of care to provide to your clients. Also, there is also the emotional challenge that comes with working as a home carer. Now, sometimes you go into the home of your client might not be in a very good mood, might be distressed, might be going through, some form of physical pain, emotional pain, or even psychological pain. And whether you like it or not, you're human. This can also get to you as well. It tells on you because, of course, you're providing care. And sometimes you have to put your personal needs at the back while you have to present your client's need first. This can be very, very challenging. Long hours of driving. I've just mentioned that one of the challenges is long hours of driving. This can equally result to fatigue. You find yourself having aches and pain all over because, of course, you are doing something physical. You are driving, you're having ache on your shoulder, you're having ache on your back, you're having ache all over your body. One of the things I will always advise is try as much as you can to take plenty of rest on your off days, and when possible also try and take multivitamins. That is what I used to do. I try to take multivitamins to help my body, to build my body immune system. So you find yourself tired. Another challenge you're going to face is navigating the road. Now, if you're coming from overseas, of course, this is not your country, you've not lived here, no matter how long you've driven in your country, you will face one or two challenges trying to navigate the road, trying to navigate the use of the map. So these are challenges that you will face. But the truth is, if you're persistent, you will get the hang of it. But it's one of the challenges you will face, trying to navigate the road, trying to use the map. Especially if you're going from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, or right-hand drive to left-hand drive. These are the challenges you will face for the first few weeks. But trust me, eventually you're going to get hang of it. In the UK, like they say, that one of the things that is very, very unpredictable in this country is the UK weather. You can go from summer to winter in one whole day. So as a home carer, you're out there in the field, you're going out there to provide care to your clients, and you are faced with this weather. So whether you're walking, you're cycling, you're driving, you are faced with the harsh weathers of whatever the day presents. So my best advice would be always ready and prepared for the weather. Have extra clothing, ensure you have warm clothing with you as whenever you're driving or going around. Be always prepared for whatever weather that might present itself, because you will be faced with very, very harsh weather conditions working as a home carer in the UK. That also leads me to my next point. In the UK, when it's winter, it gets very dark quickly. By 5 o'clock, everywhere is dark. So you find yourself driving at night. Everywhere has gone dark. You're not used to driving at night. You need to get used to driving at night because, of course, you have the duty of care to provide care to your client. So that's one of the challenges you're going to face, driving when everywhere is dark, because, of course, you have to provide care. So that's one of the challenges that you also have to face working as a domiciliary carer here in the UK. My next point is, unfortunately, for most domiciliary companies, you're only paid for contact hours. That is to say, you're only paid for the amount of time you spend with your client. So for every client you go to provide care for, you have an allocated time. For most companies, that is the only time you are paid. Unfortunately, the time you spend on the road, you are not paid for that time. So for example, you can spend 12 to 14 hours on the road, or 16 hours on driving, the whole day, going around from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. At the end of the day, you're paid for about maybe 8 hours or 9 hours. That's the sad case scenario. But of course, it gets better over time, all right? So it's just something that is doable, it's something you can build on, but that is one of the challenges you're going to face working as a home carer here in the UK. Also as well, you also need to understand that you need to learn how to balance your family and work life. Because of the shift schedule, because of the shift pattern where you have to work, in blocks of time, you might find it difficult, especially if you have a family, balance your work and family time, especially at the beginning. But of course, as you go over time, you eventually find a balance. Just have this at the back of your mind that you might find it a little bit difficult balancing your work and balancing your family time. But of course, nothing is impossible. You can discuss your rota, you can discuss your time schedule with your employers, and you can come to a very, very conclusive agreement of how best to carry out your duties. So especially for new drivers in the UK, one of the challenges you're faced with is risk of driving on the road. Now, the UK is a country that is relatively safe to drive on the road. For you to drive in the UK, rigorous training, the roads are relatively safe. But of course, the risks are also out there. So you need to be aware that while you're driving, especially as a new user, you're trying to know the road, you're trying to navigate the map, you're trying to avoid other road users, you are faced with risks and challenges of driving in the UK. Of course, with every driving comes with its own risk. So just have that at the back of your mind and prepare yourself to drive effectively here in the UK. One other challenges that I also find is compared to other healthcare professionals, of course, the pay rate is quite low compared to other healthcare professionals. But of course, over the years, you can build your career, you can take more training, you can, progress your career up the ladder and, get higher pay. But the pay compared to other healthcare professionals, the home care assistant or healthcare assistant are relatively low. One of the challenges I also find with being a home carer is that you will come across clients that are not cooperative. You will come across difficult clients. You will go into their home and you're expected to carry things out in a particular way according to your training, according to the way you've been, asked to carry it out according to your company policy, but they want it done in their own way, in a particular way. You have to know where to draw the line. You have to know where to say no, put your foot down, and this is what I need to do. You have to know when to contact your employers to say this is what is happening. Sometimes you might also have to work with clients that colleagues that are difficult, because sometimes it's not just working alone. You might be paired where you do the doubles with another colleague. Sometimes the colleague could be difficult for one reason or the other. They just make your life difficult, or you don't even like the person you're working with. These are challenges that you might also be faced with. One other challenge you will also be faced with is working alone. Now, when you're working in a care home setting where you have your colleagues, you have your superiors, if there is an issue, you can easily run, you can easily get your colleague or get your superiors. But in most cases, as a home carer, you are working alone. That is why they encourage you to take the course Lone Working as one of your certification courses. As working as a home carer, you're working alone, you're all on your own. So you need to be smart, you need to be sharp to take right decisions when something goes wrong, when there's an emergency, when you find yourself in difficult situation. You need to understand that most times you are alone in the home of the client. You're at home with most of this time who are very, very vulnerable. That is why it's expected that you have your training at the back of your tips. You need to understand what to do when an emergency arises. Now, in the case of an emergency, unfortunately, sometimes you go into the home of a client and there's an emergency. Guys, you're not expected to leave the client there. So if there's an emergency, you have to be there with the client, call for help, seek for help, and sometimes you have to be there until the ambulance arrives, until help arrives. And this might take you up to midnight, this might take you up to late hours of the night. That is one of the challenges that come with the job. You cannot leave your client, in danger. You have to be with them. And sometimes, unfortunately, even while you're spending that time with them, waiting for ambulance in case of an emergency, sometimes you're not paid. So guys, my very last point I want to note is that, one of the challenges you also have working as a home carer is that you have limited time to spend with your client. Because this client pay or the council pay for limited time, sometimes you just have about 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour. You might not have enough time, to provide or just to attend to the way you want to attend to the needs of your client. You find yourself, you're rushing to do things, you're rushing to be very quick, and depends on the kind of client you have. Some of these things, some of your duties might drag. You find yourself rushing, and when you're rushing, you're prone to mistakes. So my advice I'll always give at this point is ensure that you go through the care plan of your client before you go into their home. So at the back of your head, you already understand what you're going to do. You already know the pains. You already know that you've already assessed the client, have already been assessed ahead of time. So you know how to deal with the client as soon as you get into the home of the client. Guys, if you haven't subscribed at this point, go ahead and subscribe. I share amazing tips about working in the UK, living in the UK, and life abroad generally. I hope I haven't scared you away with this point. This is just to bring to light the challenges that you might face as a healthcare worker. If you have further questions, go ahead, drop your questions in the comment section. I'm happy to answer your questions. We also have a Telegram group where we share information, tips, strategies of relocating abroad. The link is in the description. Go ahead and join. And hopefully in my next video, I'll be sharing with you the benefits of working as a home care assistant here in the UK. Watch out for my next video. I'll see you in my next video, guys. Take good care, share this video, like, and of course subscribe. Bye bye.